everyone, and welcome to the TDWI webinar program. I'm Andrew Miller, and I'll be your moderator. For today's program, we're going to have an expert panel on how DevOps can boost the value of DataOps and MLOps. And our sponsors today are Informatica and Impetus. For our presentations today, we'll hear first from James Kabilas with TDWI. And after Jim speaks, we'll be joined by Pritam Kumar with Informatica and Chandrasekhar Natarajan with Impetus for a panel discussion. Before I turn over the time to our speakers, I'll go over a few basics with everyone. Today's webinar will be about an hour long, and at the end of their presentations, our speakers will host a question and answer period. So if at any time during these presentations you'd like to submit a question, just use the Ask a Question area on your screen to type in your question. If you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, you can click on the Help area located below the slide window and you'll receive technical assistance. If you'd like to discuss this webinar on Twitter with fellow attendees, just include the hashtag TDWI in your tweets. If you'd like a copy of today's presentation, please locate the resource window to download the PDF. And we are recording today's event and we'll be emailing you a link to an archived version so you can view the presentation again later if you choose, or if you wish to share with a colleague. Again, today we're going to be discussing how DevOps can boost the value of DataOps and MLOps. And our first speaker is James Kabilas. He's the Senior Director of Research for Data Management at TDWI. Jim is a veteran thought leader, industry analyst, consultant, author, and speaker on analytics and data management. Over the past 3 decades, Jim has held analyst positions at Futurum Research, Wikibon, Forrester Research, Current Analysis, and the Burton Group. He also served as Senior Program Director for Product Marketing for Big Data Analytics for IBM, where he was both a subject matter expert and strategist on thought leadership and content marketing programs targeted at the data science community. At TDWI, Jim focuses on data management, which encompasses database platforms, data governance, data integration, master data management, data ops pipelines, and more. Welcome, Jim, and I will hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a good day, wherever you happen to be, whenever you happen to be. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about DevOps and how it can enhance the value, boost the value of your DataOps and your MLOps practices. DataOps, of course, data engineering, data integration, ETL, and so forth. MLOps, of course, is the pipeline, the set of processes involved in building and training and deploying and iterating and optimizing machine learning and artificial intelligence models inside of your production applications. So DataOps and MLOps, as established enterprise processes, necessary to stand up data-centric intelligent applications of all sorts. They require high-performance workflows, pipelines, sets of processes, and really roles and teaming arrangements and platforms and rules and so forth that guide how data and models and also program code and other necessary assets are prepared, packaged, tested, and deployed to stand them up into useful data-intensive intelligent applications. So it's a complex set of processes, and increasingly enterprises are aligning their DataOps and MLOps practices, workflows, role definitions with established DevOps practices of continuous integration and continuous deployment. So really the convergence of these pipelines is a well-established fact, which is borne out by TWI research. So the use cases for DataOps, data management, of course. DataOps is, like I said, the set of processes involved in taking source data, ingesting it, staging, profiling, doing transformation and cleansing, doing master data management, data warehousing, data delivery, the whole set of processes involved in making data fit for deployment downstream into reports, dashboards, into machine learning models and the like. What we did a best practices study in this past year, in which we asked respondents, how are DataOps pipelines being used where you work? And the most popular answers from 204 respondents all concern these things. This is nothing that you don't already know. If you're tuning into this webinar, this is probably what you do for a living. Data transformation, extraction, ETL, data acquisition, and the like. Clearly, these are all fundamental practices for all manner of analytics applications and decision support applications. So ETL, jointly or separately, extraction, transformation, and loading as processes jointly or separately are the top DataOps use case, which is, of course, no surprise, with data acquisition and cleansing not far behind. That's DataOps, also known as data engineering. Advanced analytics, that's where MLOps comes in. It's the set of processes in parallel that involves ingesting the data and preparing it, doing feature engineering based on the data, selecting the algorithms to build the models, statistical models that you then train and serve out and evaluate in deployment, into production deployments, or in real world experiments, involving taking models and training them and making them accurate and fit for various purposes, and then tuning such things as hyperparameters to make them ever more efficient and ever more accurate at their core tasks. So that's the MLOps pipeline. In that same survey, we asked respondents, how are MLOps pipelines used where you work? And what we found, once again, is no surprise to anybody who does this for a living. First and foremost, it's the data preparation functions, as well as feature engineering, feature selection, model hyperparameter tuning, and so forth, but also collaborative model building, automating the scoring of multiple models in parallel, and so forth. These are the core of MLOps. So really, automation of these functions is the most critical thing that organizations are investing in. Tools to automate data prep and model operationalization is a top use case, but also collaboration within the teams of data engineers and data scientists, business analysts, and others who are involved in the whole data science pipeline, augmenting their collaboration within increasingly complex teams to not only prepare models, but to provide risk mitigation and guardrails and so forth to ensure that those models do what they're supposed to do and don't do things like, or don't become biased, or don't start to emit toxic outputs, like in cases where you're, say, using large language models within the context of chatbots. So MLOps, critical set of processes, it's all about advanced analytics and operationalizing advanced analytics in your business applications. In the survey, we asked, what are the top pain points for your organization's architecture, deployment, staffing, and management of both your DataOps pipeline and your MLOps pipeline? So what the responses, I'll just display them, and really they come down to a core set of pain points in common to both the DataOps workflow as the MLOps workflow. Ad hoc, inconsistent, non-standard approaches are being used by many enterprises to do these tasks that should, these pipelines and processes that should be more rigorously aligned in terms of the approach. So ad hoc and inconsistent processes, just a moment, please. And then siloed and fragmented infrastructures. Quite often organizations have disconnected data engineering pipelines for many established and legacy applications that need to be converged. And likewise, organizations often have multiple MLOps pipelines or data science processes that need to be aligned into a unified pipeline. Many of the processes involved both on the data engineering, DataOps side and the MLOps, data science side, are manual. And increasingly, the workloads on both sides are growing and growing and becoming ever more complex, while your staff remains quite limited. You have, hopefully, intelligent people that you've hired who are highly skilled who are doing these things. They don't have enough hours in the day or the week to do and to double check their work on every single function that needs to be performed in order for these processes to run correctly. So the need for manual processes and procedures is a chief pain point, which is driving a lot of focus on automation. Limited, inadequate, and undertrained operational staff, it almost goes without saying. I mean, for example, look at the last year's worth of focus now on things like large language models and generative AI. You can't find enough people with, probably, if you're most organizations, with a whole lot of skill or experience in this, for example, up and coming area, much less to attend to your existing needs in data ingestion and model preparation and so forth. So they need to skill up. is absolutely a pain point. And insufficient collaboration among technical and business specialists involved in both pipelines. These are all very intelligent people performing important tasks in your organization. Some manage the technical details of the pipelines. Others are stewards of the data or are subject matter experts who are working with your data scientists to build out the feature models needed to build into your machine learning initiatives. They may want to work together, but they don't have tools that enable them to collaborate in continuous pipelines in an effective way. Insufficient collaboration or insufficient collaborative capabilities and environments is a chief pain point that TWI has been seeing for quite some time in both sides of the equation, both DataOps and MLOps. So the convergence of these pipelines, one of the terms that's been used, and I think it's a good term, to refer to the convergence of DataOps and MLOps, but also with DevOps is, XOps. And what is that? XOps refers to a structured workflow, a pipeline. A pipeline is a structured workflow that takes data, models, program code, and other digital assets from sources and prepares them for delivery to and consumption within downstream applications. So when we look at this all as a unified pipeline, DataOps, all the data-centric processes, MLOps, all the machine learning and data science and statistical modeling processes, and what I call CodeOps, which is the core of DevOps, which is your developers. They've been working probably within the last 10 years. They've migrated their platforms and tools and skills towards continuous integration and continuous deployment of code builds and continuous testing and QA and so forth. Increasingly, these functions are being aligned in many organizations. And this is borne out by recent TWI research where we've asked the question, to what extent are you incorporating DevOps principles into the alignment of your data engineering and machine learning? And it's coming along fairly fast. So what's necessary is a shared infrastructure for development, operationalization, and governance of these assets, the assets from which analytics-infused applications are composed. So what we're talking about is a broad range of capabilities on the data engineering side, on the machine learning operationalization side, and on the CI/CD side for DevOps or CodeOps, such as source code repositories. So adoption of unified XOps pipelines, we asked the following questions. To what extent have you deployed these pipelines? In 39% of respondents in one of our latest surveys reported that they have only deployed a DataOps pipeline, but not MLOps. About 1 in 7 have only deployed an MLOps pipeline, but not DataOps in production. About 1 in 5 of the respondents in the survey reported having neither DataOps or MLOps pipelines in production. Slightly over a quarter report having both DataOps and MLOps pipelines deployed. And almost a quarter have already put DevOps CI/CD tools into production for enterprise data analytics pipelines. So what we see here is that enterprises vary all over the map in terms of their having built one or more and aligned one or more of these pipelines in production in their organizations. But the 1 quarter who've already put DevOps into place is very much the spearhead of an ongoing trend towards doing just that. It brings greater consistency and alignment and efficiency to standing up increasingly intelligent, data-driven analytic applications. And with that said, I'm going to hand it back to Andrew, and he can introduce our panelists.
Terrific. Yeah, thank you very much, Jim. That was a great presentation. Just a quick reminder to our audience, if you have a question, you can enter it at any time in the Ask a Question window. We will be answering audience questions in the final portion of our program. Now, please allow me to introduce our guest speakers, first of which is Pritam Kumar with Informatica. Pritam leads the product marketing for data integration product portfolios such as cloud mass ingestion, streaming data integration, cloud data integration, data prep, MLOps, FinOps, and headless data management. He's a seasoned product marketing professional with 18-plus years of experience developing and executing successful marketing programs and leading high-performing teams to drive the pipeline, build brand awareness, and increase product service usage in the high-tech industry. Our next guest speaker is Chandrasekhar Natarajan with Impetus. Chandra brings over 20 years of experience specializing in DevOps, site reliability engineering, DataOps, MLOps, and data migration. His expertise spans across multiple domains, enabling him to lead enterprise data modernization products successfully at Impetus. As a key driver of these projects, Chandra takes ownership of building and managing infrastructure, platforms, and applications. With his extensive experience in diverse skill set, he plays a pivotal role in spearheading enterprise data modernization initiatives and driving the adoption of DevOps best practices. Welcome to both of our guest speakers. And with that, Jim, I'll pass it back over to you for the discussion.
Thank you, Andrew. And it's great to have you, Pritam and Chandra, on our panel today. So I just, in a very speedy fashion, contextualized today's discussion. There's a lot of abstractions and acronyms that I threw in there. So I think we need to stop and stand back and take a deep breath, at least I do, and ask you, what is this DevOps? I mean, it's an abstraction, but it's also something very concrete that enterprises have implemented or are implementing inside of their development organizations. So what are your thoughts? What exactly is DevOps?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can start, Jim, and thanks for having me in the panel. And hello, everyone. Yeah, so DevOps is, I mean, as we all know, it's an agile software development practice. And it typically breaks down your silos across your development, your operations, and security to make sure that you deliver a consistent experience across the development lifecycle. Getting background sound, and I would like to phrase out, okay, why it is critical for the organization, because without a robust DevOps practice, your entire software development will slow down significantly, which can have a significant impact on your business, wherein your business critical application can fail, which can result in decreasing customer satisfaction and also impacting your revenue as well. A mature DevOps process allows developers to focus on development and enables them to ship bug-free code. With automation, like you were mentioning, Jim, that manual processes and all. So automations, intelligence and automation, infusing intelligence and automation across the processes in terms of monitoring capabilities that ensure that there is the CI/CD thing, which you were talking about, continuous integration and delivery, that makes sure that the DevOps, that your overall data pipeline is in production, and it provides clean and trusted data for the data engineers, for the data scientists to build machine learning models. Now, before I pass it on to Chandra, I would like to add on one thing is that as an organization, yeah, there are many open source tools and all, but you don't want to be having multiple point solutions to solve each use cases, as Jim was mentioning about it, okay, for ingestion, integration, and all the data ops stuffs and all. Okay. You, in order to build productivity, you need to look for a platform which provides a no-code, low-code environment that can also integrate with your coding personas as well. So the developers who likes to code with their tools like Python, SQL, and all, you should look for a tool that can integrate well with the hand coding personas, and also it can collaborate with your automations and intelligence that can significantly help you in terms of reducing cost, reduce resource constraint, and also in terms of increasing productivity of your developers for driving your analytics and AI consumption. Yeah, I think that's what I feel. And any thoughts?
Yeah, Chandra, any thoughts? For sure.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. See, just to add to what Tim has said, so DevOps is, in simple words, it's bringing developers and ops team, putting them together, and also extending the agile development model towards operations team. So what we started doing, we started putting the operations team together with the development to the earlier cycle of the development life cycles. So the ops team can start thinking towards the operation side of the development life cycle. So this helps a seamless handover from the dev team to ops team. So the entire operations will be seamless. That's with respect to the seamless operations. And also of late, we started, apart from automation and continuous delivery and continuous development, we started introducing that AI ops as well, where AI can help in terms of operation side, how intelligently we can monitor the systems and how intelligently we can correlate the logs and predict the issues. That's another area DevOps started getting into AIOps as well.
Very good. Continuous operationalization of bug-free code. It sounds like that's the core crux. I'm going to move to the next question. You've already anticipated some of my downstream questions. This is good. So to what extent are enterprises adopting DevOps in their DataOps and MLOps pipelines? Who wants to go first on this?
Yeah, maybe I can just brief about it. So enterprises are increasingly showing great interest in adopting DevOps principles in their DataOps and MLOps pipelines, especially when an enterprise trying to migrate to a modern data platform like big data platform or cloud platform and MLOps platform. So they started adopting these DevOps principles from the beginning of their migration cycle. So that's a key thing that enterprises started getting into, started adopting DevOps principles. And especially the DataOps side, when it comes to DataOps side, it's like a application development. The adoption is faster. But when it comes to MLOps side, we face some of the unique challenges. For example, if I want to automate end-to-end, could be a challenge when you retrain a model, right? You may want to intervene with the data scientist team. There could be a manual intervention. So it comes with its own challenges, but still enterprises are adopting this complete DevOps principles on both DataOps and MLOps in most of the areas.
Are they encountering any specific challenges when adopting DevOps in this context? Pritam, any thoughts there? What are the chief challenges they face in doing so?
Yeah, at Informatica, we do come across customers who are trying to deploy DataOps and MLOps because DataOps, as you rightly showed in your deck, is more about data engineering, making sure that high quality trusted data is provided to the data engineers who can build machine learning model and operationalize it. But having said that, to Chandra's point, the reality is that there is a huge emergence, growth of data, the variety of data that has grown, the data diversity is there. And there's also this emergence of fusion teams, data teams, which comprise of your data scientists, data engineers, data analysts. And there are some new line of business users like business technologists, which are like citizen data integrators. So the collaboration is not there with all this different personas and all, and everyone wants to have a seamless access to the data. That is actually being one of the barriers in terms of organization to drive their AI/ML initiatives or digital transformation initiatives. So that is wherein disciplines like data ops becomes very important, because that actually does the collaboration across people, process, and technology. So you collaborate all these different personas. You talk about technology which is automated and AI enabled, as Chandra was mentioning about AI ops and all, and then about and then of course you have the processes as well, which should be seamless and all. So I think these are the things which we see when we talk to our customers. And regarding MLOps, I think you're spot on, and your stats also is correct. Okay, almost more than 80% of the AI/ML projects don't see the light of the day. And that is actually derailing a lot of the AI initiatives. And the major reason is your operationalization issues, and the trust in data. So we call it data for AI. Okay, and that is actually is a fact. Okay, if you don't have high quality trusted data, it will be more of a garbage in and garbage out kind of situation out there. So these are some of the things which we see when we talk to our customers and the challenges they face. And also a lot of these point solutions providers, they have been using these point solutions from different vendors. That adds a lot of complexity. Like you are using one solution for ingestion, one for integration. For ML, you're using multiple open source tools and all. So the integration is not there, okay, between all these tools, which not only adds complexity but also add cost as well to this customers. And you have to retrain your developers on new technologies and all, which is kind of like derailing a lot of the stuffs. And these data scientists are spending a lot of time in preparing the data rather than building their models and all, which should be their main focus.
Right, reducing silos in both data engineering and in ML ops, as you said, ensuring that developers and those who operationalize data and models have seamless access to high quality trusted data, which leads to the next question. What tools and technologies can help streamline and automate data ops and ML ops processes within the DevOps pipeline? So which one of you would like to go first on this one?
Maybe I can start with this. See, there are a variety of tools, open source as well as paid tools, licensed tools, that will help DataOps and the MLOps teams to deliver automated pipeline so that it ensures the reliability and the efficiency of the data and the machine learning workflows improves. So to start with the version control, we generally use Git, GitHub. Those are all the basic tools we start with the version controlling system. Then coming to the computation, we use containerized systems for computation and Kubernetes, any flavor of the Kubernetes for computation. And data storage, we go to cloud or we go to on-prem tools. Then coming to the DevOps, applying the DevOps principles with respect to applying CI/CD tools, we start with Jenkins and we have GitLab and Circle CI. There are many other tools that will help us in implementing continuous deployment and continuous integration. And there are workflow management, which is a core of DataOps or even MLOps, where you need to orchestrate and build and put the lineage together and process the data pipeline. So that's a workflow automation. And apart from that, and you think of your infrastructure as a code, then you can think of Terraform, Ansible, or CloudFormation, which will help you to build your infrastructure together with your pipelines. And we have data versioning tools and no-code platform tools, which will help you to build your data pipeline and just run this pipeline, just building your functional logic. And then once you build everything, there are tools like how to monitor these data pipelines, right? The observability of data observability, right? How continuously you monitor for data quality. And that's DQ is open source and Great Expectation. These are all the tools that we use for data quality checks. And monitoring and observability, there are open source as well as licensed tools. Prometheus, Grafana, Datadog, and many other tools will help us to monitor the entire pipeline and alert us in time to ensure that we are meeting the data availability SLA. These are all the few tools that I could think of.
Right, very comprehensive. Pritam, that was a fairly good list that Chandra gave us. You have anything to add to what he said here?
No, I mean, I actually wanted to cover all of them. I think he covered the most important thing. He did cover the Kubernetes and the containers. But one thing I want to highlight is, since I'm from Informatica, okay, so, and we have been in the data integration space for more than 30 years. And it's predominantly, now we are in the cloud. We are in Informatica Data Management Cloud. If you guys have heard about it, is our cloud native data management platform. It's comprehensive. It has got the consumption model with the IPU pricing and all. So one thing I would like to add is that with Informatica, we know that there's a lot of hand coding audiences, as Chandra was mentioning, so many open source tools. We recently launched just a couple of, Informatica World, a solution called InfaCore, which is our headless data management solution that actually exposes, gives opportunity to the developer audiences who uses their own set of languages like Python, SQL, Java, and all. And with the InfoCore plugin, okay, they can actually leverage the key core capabilities of our Informatica Data Management Cloud, whether it's data integration, quality, governance, and so on. And that helps them to build using Python, and you can deploy it using our model serve solution, which is our MLOps solution that helps you to deploy, monitor, and also train the models based on if there are any errors and all. So that's one thing I would like to add on, that with open source solution, you also need an enterprise scale solution that can help you give a seamless experience. And also with a no code, low code platform and all, it can significantly improve your productivity and optimize your cost.
Great, we'll keep rolling here. In fact, you guys have both been answering this question, but I'll ask it explicitly and then we'll carry on. So how should enterprises implement DevOps CI/CD practices for data pipelines and machine learning models? And let me actually ask sort of a subsidiary question. You hear about GitOps, where GitHub is often used or increasingly used in the context of DevOps for open source code. Do you care to expand on what you had to say just now in the sense of a broader set of DevOps principles that should be applied to data pipelines and machine learning operationalization?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Preetham, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I can go here. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Okay, so thanks. So yeah, I mean, Jim, I mean, as I was mentioning before, okay, the DevOps principle is bringing your people, process, and technologies together. Organizations can, with the fusion data teams, with different processes, you have to make them more agile. And the technology, which should be an enterprise class technology. I think these are the key principles of DevOps that can be brought into data pipeline as well. Now, implementing your DevOps CI/CD practices to data pipeline and machine learning can be a process of like your process changes, tool adoption, and collaboration between different teams. Like you rightly said, data engineers collaborating with the data scientist. Now, how do they go ahead and do that? Okay, I mean, like let's look at some of the steps actually. So one thing is important is you need to set up a clear goal for your organization for implementing your CI/CD practices for your data pipeline and machine learning model. What are the data challenges out there?
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And how you create your cross-functional fusion team out here, okay? And make sure that they collaborate well. And then as Chandra was mentioning about doing version control of your code data, automating the data pipeline, containerizing it, and making sure the CI/CD process, which is your continuous integration and continuous deployment, so that you can automatically build, test, and deploy the data pipeline and ML models seamlessly without any barriers and all. I think that's how I would say we can implement across your data pipeline and machine learning models.
Right, right. Chandra, anything to add?
Yeah, that's good. So he pretty much covered, Preetham. Just to add to that, I would like to bring what's the difference between your application DevOps practice and with respect to your DataOps or MLOps. So when you come to a DataOps, you are running in an application, you take an application, you build that your jar files and you keep deploying it. But when you come to your data lake or data warehouse, there are thousands and thousands of pipelines running. So you need to work with the multiple stakeholders. As he said, that cross-platform team you need to work with, cross teams you need to work with, and then group your pipelines into smaller modules, right? So when it comes to practical implementation, so it could be based on your business domain or based on your different development groups or projects, use cases. You have to modularize the pipelines so that your deployment will be seamless. And if there are any impact, the impact will be minimized to a particular area. So that's I would like to add.
Sounds like you're calling for reusability of pipelines, components, and so forth. And that calls often for a metadata infrastructure that enables those pipelines that are components that have already been developed to be searched by their various attributes by developers when they're trying to build new pipelines for new requirements. That's definitely a strong trend we've seen in terms of the approach for doing this. So I'm going to move on to the next question in the interest of time. We often hear about something called DevSecOps. And so I ask, how should enterprises address security and privacy when they're deploying DataOps and MLOps processes within a DevOps context? DevSecOps.
Yeah. See, It's setting up the security is, core for us with respect to starting from your source code, right? You need to tighten your source code control system, tighten your access to the source code control system, then protect your branches so that it should go through proper pipelining or through automated deployment tool. It should go through it. So you have to tighten your master branches, which is a golden copy. And apart from that, when you come to a security of your pipeline, right? Either your deployment pipeline or DataOps pipeline, MLOps pipeline, we should start thinking of continuous verification. In a couple of our cases, what we do, we integrate with one of the source code verification system, where our code, correct? So that will continuously, whenever a developer checks in the code to a release branch, automatically it will fire a continuous verification pipeline. It will go and verify the complete data pipeline and complete the DevOps deployment pipeline and ensure that deployment pipeline is secured. Same way, whenever there is a data pipeline code is merged, it has to go ahead and verify the code, your Python, SQL code for any vulnerabilities. And apart from this continuous verification, there are some best practices with respect to encryption of your data and always not to use any of your credentials, keep a key vault for that, and go through the dynamic scanning of your code and static scanning of your code with vulnerability assessment tools. That's one area with respect to your DataOps, DevOps, or MLOps pipeline. In addition to that, if you're using a cloud environment, there are cloud scanning tools which will identify the vulnerabilities and periodically scanning your complete environment end to end. All your services are being scanned, especially apart from your basic infrastructure. It goes through your open source libraries or any libraries and look for vulnerabilities. So these are all some of the best practices that you can use. And with respect to your data, there are a lot of compliances you need to adhere to, and mask your code or mask your data wherever there is personal details are there, scramble wherever required, including your logs. You should mask or you should scramble your, there are some credential details are there in the logs. These are all the few security things that you can implement with respect to DataOps and the MLOps processes.
Great. So, Pritam, anything to add to a very comprehensive answer?
Yeah, I think this is pretty comprehensive, actually. Yeah, I mean, just one thing I would like to add. He did cover the code part. I think when you're preparing the data as part of your MLOps practice, whether, for example, if you're a data analyst and all, and you have this like personal PII data and all in a banking sector and all, you need to have a proper data masking tools. There's another thing is which we definitely talk about is AI for data. Okay, so at Informatica we use Claire, which is a metadata engine that detects any and give recommendations to any kind of anomalies that is there in the data and all. So I think that becomes very crucial when you're preparing the data as a data analyst I was talking about, and then you send this data to a data scientist who can then trust this data because you are done the mapping, you make the validation you have done, and you're make sure that the overall security features about masking and all is done, and they can build any kind of models for driving any kind of your for example, any kind of campaigns and all, okay, targeted campaigns, marketing campaigns, or sales campaigns, and they should be, and which should be compliance to all the stuffs out here, and also all this GDPR compliance things and all that will be taken care, okay, by the team with all this process and all.
Right, automating the validation of the code for security compliance and so forth. So let's move on to the next question. A little bit earlier, I heard Chandra mention a phrase, infrastructure as code. I'm not sure that the audience maybe is fully aware of what that is, but how should organizations apply infrastructure as code principles to manage and provision data and MLOps pipelines? I'm going to start with Chandra here. Chandra, can you expand upon this?
Sure. So infrastructure, of late, we started migrating to cloud. So cloud gives the flexibility of building your infrastructure just as a code, right? You develop your code and then provision the code in your infrastructure. That means it will give you the infrastructure that you require for. For example, like if you are developing a pipeline, there are some dependent infrastructure you need to develop, right? And it could be a transient infrastructure, or it could be a permanently running an infrastructure. For example, Kubernetes cluster, right? There are transient, or your big data clusters. So in order to do all these things, what you need to do, you need to start with a tool which will help you to develop this one. It could be like a Terraform, Ansible, or CloudFormation will facilitate you to code your infrastructure. So when you plan to do the infrastructure as a code, start with your infrastructure configuration and see that your infrastructure is repeatable and it's a consistently you get the same result when you provision the infrastructure. And you should be able to develop a code which is a reusable, maybe a reusable template, which could be a modular, wherein other modules can use those code. For example, like if you want to build a pipeline and that pipeline uses some computation resources, it could be an EC2 machine. So whenever you run the pipeline, once the data is available, then you trigger a pipeline, your DevOps pipeline, that can understand what is the computation requirement for that. It could be an EC2 machine, or it could be a big data cluster. It can go ahead and spin up that cluster just by using this code. Once the entire job is completed, then it will bring down the resources. So in that way, the benefit of the infrastructure as code is it's completely automated, and there is an error for any configuration errors are less, and you do a cost saving a lot, because whenever you need, you provision the infrastructure and then you can stop it. That's one of the benefit, but you can still keep a permanent cluster or permanent computation or storage, everything. And another advantage is if you are able to create a modular code with your infrastructure as a code, you can integrate with your DevOps deployment pipeline. So that will give us an added benefit of improving your continuous integration and continuous delivery. You can integrate it with, so it's an end-to-end package which will deliver your code, which will deliver your infrastructure, and whenever there is a need, it will build the entire pipeline and provision into the cloud.
Right, automated, standardized the provisioning of the infrastructure to support the DataOps and MLOps pipelines. Understood. So, Pritam, anything to add to what Chandra had to say here?
No, I think that was quite comprehensive what Chandra covered, actually. Okay,
okay, we have one last question before we go to audience questions. So on the panel here, how should enterprises measure the success of their DataOps journeys? How should they measure success of these journeys?
Yeah, I can go here. There are many metrics you can consider when you are measuring the success for your DataOps journey. I would like to highlight few. I think the starting off with is data quality and accuracy of data. Improving data quality and accuracy across various sources and pipeline. Okay, using profiling and monitoring tool to identify anomalies and discrepancies there. Second thing is your data downtime, and making sure that your data pipeline with data observability, which Chandra was mentioning before, monitoring data pipeline and ensure that the downtime is minimized there, okay, so that the data high availability is there for the pipeline, and so that the data is delivered in a consistent manner. Okay. I think that is very crucial for any DataOps journey. Time to insights, making sure that you deliver actionable insights from data and reduce the latency in data delivery, okay, which is actually very important out here. And another thing is data pipeline efficiency, okay, wherein you are processing the data at high speed, how efficiently you are using the different resources out there. And last but not the least is your data governance and compliance, making sure that you're, like Chandra was mentioning, right? Okay, that it should be compliant with data governance policies and regulations, whether it's like for any European GDPR regulations or any kind of HIPAA compliance and all, making sure that DataOps should enhance security and privacy measures accordingly. So I think these are some of the key metrics I would say that organization should consider to have successful in the DataOps journey.
Right. And Chandra, anything to add here?
I think Preetham has covered pretty much. Just to add to what he has explained, with respect to data, we may need to consider the unused data, the data utilization, right? That will tell how your data is being utilized and what is the dark data. That means, a particular amount of data is not being used. So then organization can think of archiving the data and all, correct? These are all the important metrics with respect to operational wise. In addition to data-related metrics on your DataOps journey, we need to consider the DevOps-related metrics, like DORA metrics. What's your lead time, and what's your deployment frequency? What's the failure rate when you are doing a new deployment, right? And the end-to-end, when a developer commits code until it goes to production, what's the overall lead time? So that will improve your deliverables, and the efficiency and the effectiveness of your deliverables will be improved by applying these metrics as well on top of the DataOps metrics.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. So I'm going to close down the panel, and we're going to hand it back to Andrew to start the audience Q&A. So Andrew, take it away.
Thank you, Jim. And yeah, thank you all for that great discussion. We do have a few audience questions here, so we'll jump right in. We'll start with Chandra on this one. But I would love to hear, Preetham, if you have anything to add, please do so. So Chandra, how do you deal with cloud costs in DataOps and MLOps?
So with respect to cloud cost, again, that's part of our metrics, right? So we collect the metrics from a different environment. We start with the overall cost. Then we drill down into, for each component, what is the cost? And plus, what is our utilization? And how to optimize this utilization, continuously optimizing the utilization. For example, if I want to reduce the cost, then you need to understand, how we can see the utilization, how your computation is doing, how your data growth is, whether the dark data is there, can we archive the data, can we apply data lifecycle policy so that you can archive the data and take the data to an archival storage. And apart from this, computation and storage, in general, what we do, every week we take around the top 100 high consumption queries or long running queries and see how to optimize those queries. It is a continuous process, how to optimize the resource utilization. That's one thing. And another area is, there could be an area because you take care of dev stage and develop, prod environment, there could be a lot of unused resources that you need to keep deleting or keep removing those unused resources. So you should have an audit mechanism, how to go through this audit mechanism and see that we can eliminate this cost. And these are the things. And also we need to think of if you are working for larger enterprises and your platform might be used by multiple business groups. And you need to find a way how to charge back to these different business groups so that your cost is contained and your cost is divided with multiple groups. So these are all the best practices with respect to measuring the cost and containing the cost and do a continuous optimization with respect to resource utilization.
Preetham, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I just want to add one thing is one of the concepts that the capabilities which we have added in our platform is the FinOps concept. So like you talk about data ops, you're talking about MLOps. So FinOps becoming is very critical for organization, because organizations want to optimize their overall cost. They want to have clear visibility with the observability capabilities out there. So you can say that FinOps falls under the observability side, which can give you information in terms of how much compute is the workload is consuming, and which department is using those things. One thing I would like to add on to here is that how do you infuse intelligence and AI to make this thing smarter? Okay, so you don't want, like, as a data engineer, you don't know, okay, which optimization engine I need to use to build my data pipeline. Should I use ELT? Should I use serverless? Or should I use your normal integration stuffs and all? With the AI powered capabilities, I think if organizations start using it in a larger enterprises, it can provide them insights. Okay, you just start building your pipeline, and your optimization engine will be taken care with this AI powered stuff. Okay, and you'll be able to, you don't have to select the compute and all. I think that will give significant advantage. We are seeing a lot of benefits, especially when organizations are looking to move petabyte scale of data to doing large data engineering scale jobs and all. The FinOps capabilities in the platform is showing a good amount of results in optimizing costs and improving productivity as well.
All right, fantastic. We'll move on to the next question here. Pritam, we'll start with you on this. But of course, Chandra, if you have something to add, please do so. So Pritam, do you implement data governance and data governance roles for principals and stakeholders, et cetera, when adopting DevOps? If so, how heavy or how light?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I mean, governance is extremely critical when you are accessing, giving controls to different roles and to different departments. We do implement governance roles out there. So that's the reason I mentioned data governance as one of the criteria when you are measuring the success of your data ops team, so that you are compliant to all the regulations and all. And making sure that data is trusted and when it is being used for any kind of analytics and AI consumptions out here.
Chandra, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think Pritam covered that question pretty much well.
Okay, terrific. We'll move on to the next one. So Chandra, we'll start with you. How do you monitor your data pipelines with a single pane view of pipelines, platform, and infrastructure?
Okay, this is one of the challenges that we face in the enterprises because you have multiple tools, and so starting from your infrastructure monitoring and your platform monitoring, pipeline monitoring, and then your data quality monitoring, and another side your vulnerability monitoring, right? There are multiple monitoring that we need to do, and then there is an observability platforms, right? So what we do, one, in cases, we try to use a specific individual tool which can connect with all these tools, and it can give you summary view, right? There are tools available which can connect with the APIs and get the data from multiple tools, and it can give you a single view. And in some cases where the tools are limited, then we go ahead with the basic infrastructure, platform, and the pipeline monitoring. And apart from that, what we develop or what we try to get from the vendors is like executive summary of the entire operations, right? Starting from development, considering the cost, whatever we have explained, how to build a metrics dashboard, right? So there are cases we build the complete metrics dashboard, connecting with multiple sources, either through API or directly through a database, and create a single pane of the complete operations view. It can be used by a management, and it can be used by an operations as well, the entire operations team.
All right, terrific. We'll move on to the next one here. Pritam, we'll go with you on this question. What is your view around real-time data ops? Is it a part of the move to DevOps and DataOps conversions?
Yeah, I mean, data ops, I have clearly mentioned that we want to the overall objective of data ops is to reduce the latency of data delivery. And when you're talking about latency, there's the time factor that comes into picture. Now, real time can be a very subjective thing, wherein a 5 millisecond can be real time for certain use cases. And for certain use cases, even 5 microseconds can be real time as well. Okay. So that depends on the use cases. So if you are doing like, for example, you're doing a batch processing or a micro batch processing, so that's fine. I mean, your latency elements can be more. But when you're doing any mission critical application, like for example, you are doing any websites, online websites, and you want to track your customers' behavior online, or is any healthcare use cases, I think that is where you need real-time data ops, okay, wherein you are operationalizing the data pipeline in real time. You're combining both your streaming and batch data, and making sure that data is available for further analysis, whether you're doing real-time analytics or streaming analytics on top of it. So it purely depends upon the use cases, how you want to implement that.
All right, we'll have one final question here. Chandra, this one will be for you. Is there a way to achieve infrastructure as code in an on-prem environment?
Not the complete infrastructure. Maybe we go with the open source cloud platform on-prem. That could be one option where we can achieve this infrastructure as a code and on-prem. And if you are having a shared on-prem environment, right? So you have a shared resources, still you can use the infrastructure as a code, and you can get your resources from an on-prem environment using Ansible or Terraform.
No worries. Unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of our time today. So I would like to thank all of our speakers. We did, of course, hear from James Kabilas with TDWI, Pritam Kumar with Informatica, and Chandrasekhar Natarajan with Impetus. Would also like to thank once again Informatica and Impetus for sponsoring today's webinar. And please remember, we did record today's webinar, and we'll be emailing you a link to an archived version of the presentation, which you can feel free to share with colleagues. And if you'd like a copy of today's presentation, you can locate the resource window to download the PDF. Finally, there are just a few days left to join us at TDWI San Diego, taking place next month, August 6th through August 11th. You can learn from vetted instructors on topics including data governance, machine learning, data fabric, dashboards, and more. Right now, you can save 30% off your first TDWI event with promo code FIRST30. That's FIRST30 by August 4th. You can view the full agenda at tdwi.org/San Diego, and we hope to see you all there. Lastly, from all of us here, let me say thank you so much for attending. This does conclude today's event.